DJ Lil create vibes now.
Welcome to another episode of the Get Love Like Mine podcast. We are your humble hosts. I'm Keisha Amos. This is my beautiful husband, Sam Amos. This is season 4, episode 4. We really hope that you liked that last episode about granting grace to your parents. Definitely been getting positive feedback on it. So today we want to talk about mental health. Yesterday, I went to this tea party in a room full of Black female lawyers and judges, and the topic was mental health, and it really got me to thinking. Even in that last episode that we recorded, we talked about narcissistic people and gaslighting. We said that needed to be a topic all on its own. So here we are talking about mental health and all of that good stuff. So I want to talk about the difference between, or what is mental health? What does mental health mean to you?
Well, I think over the years, a lot of people, when they hear mental health, especially when it's directed at them, they become defensive. And because if you don't know much about it, it may seem like someone is more or less calling you crazy. You sound crazy, you're acting crazy. But there are many forms of mental health, not just someone twiddling their fingers and mumbling to themselves or whatever, but
Well, I think you're describing mental illness. That's what I was trying to get at, that there's a difference between what your mental health is and mental illness. What you're describing, talking to yourself and things like that, that's like mental illness. But what does your mental health mean is my question.
Okay, different forms of mental health also, for those that don't know, can be like depression, mood swings, anger for long periods of time for no reason. There's a whole list of things that can be described as mental health. And so we want to kind of bring light to those issues and how to address them, because sometimes you may be depressed and not know it. And sometimes you just need someone to talk to help pull you out of that, or at least bring light to your behavior is not normal or what it had once was.
All right. To me, mental health is like almost like your physical health. Like, how are you feeling personally? How are you able to cope with certain trauma? How are you able to deal with day-to-day life and, things that come up? But what you were describing, like depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, those things to me are mental illnesses or mental health issues. But I'm just saying mental health in general, it doesn't have to be bad. Your mental health might be good. Like, you might be seeing a therapist and clicking on all cylinders. But a lot of times people are going through things with their mental health and, they don't really, sometimes you don't even realize what you're going through.
That was one of my biggest points right there is having problems with mental health and not knowing, because I see that a lot, that people may struggle, and mental health can happen to anyone. Like you said, there's two sides of it. I'm talking about the negative side of it.
Mental illness.
Yes, that could happen to anyone. You don't have to be, old and senile or whatever, but a lot of times it's just a chemical imbalance. It's almost like you may not volunteer yourself to say, okay, I wish I had mental health problems. Just like I didn't volunteer to have this arthritis in my shoulder. But over time, it just set in. Mental health issues can be the same way. Over time, your body may start producing certain things, or it may be harder for you to get past certain things that happen in your life, the loss of a child or a parent or something. All these things, yeah, or a spouse, right? All these things can contribute to your mental health.
So I talked to someone recently who, after coming out of it, realized that she had experienced a form of depression. I say this all the time. I'm such an overthinker. Like, my brain does not shut off. Like, literally, if I wake up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, I have to keep my eyes closed just so that my brain won't start clicking. Because once my brain starts clicking, I'm not going to be able to go back to sleep. But because I'm such an overthinker, I personally, maybe I'm a narcissist, but I think that if I started to have mental health issues, I would notice. I would realize that my brain is not clicking the way it should be clicking. But a lot of people don't realize that they have changed. They don't realize that some of the signs or changes that people exhibit are maybe becoming a recluse, not participating in social activities like they once did, or cutting everyone off communication wise, not talking to their friends a lot, not talking to their family. What other warning signs would you say people should be looking out for?
Struggling with processing your own thoughts and emotions, like you may deal with some issues. Say something simple like someone cut you off on the freeway. Well, if that happened earlier today at about 3 or 4 in the afternoon and you're still angry at 9 o'clock that night,
Yeah.
you're struggling with processing it and getting past it. Those are all signs of that. They talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, the loss of a coworker or somebody you went to school with may be hard to cope with and get past it. So these are also things that can affect your mental health. And like you say, you can slide into it and not even know that you've changed. And from some of the things that I've read, one of the first things that happens to a person is the denial. They don't, I'm not trying to hear that. I'm me, I'm who I am. This is how I always act. But, like you said, you had a friend who went through it and she didn't see her own self until after she came out of it. And, but she had a husband there to kind of talk her through while she went through it. And, I was just grateful that was able to see it.
Yeah, that he was able to see, because he did point it out, but at the time she wasn't ready to receive that. But he knew her well enough to know the signs or notice the changes in her behavior. But like you said, it's really a chemical imbalance. It's not anything that you should be embarrassed about.
Right.
But there's always that stigma. When you talk about a chemical imbalance, even when women are PMSing, it's a chemical imbalance. You're angry, you're snapping, you're agitated, you got a bad attitude, and someone may point out to you, hey, you're a little snappy this week.
You got right?
Yeah. We got like 2 more weeks before it's that time of the month. So what is going on here? But it's a chemical imbalance. It's not something that you can really help. But I guess it is important to be able to notice that there's been a change in your behavior, so that you can, be on the lookout for what's to come. A lot of times dealing with anxiety and depression specifically, we really should seek medical attention, like, a therapist or talk to someone. But, for Black people, it's really this stigma against just the word, telling someone, hey, I'm noticing you're having some mental health issues. There's this stigma, like, you're calling me crazy or whatever. And then there are other people who will say, yes, I need help. And people will be like, no, you just need to pray about it. You just need to pray it away. We don't want to put everybody in our business. A lot of times in therapy, the therapist likes to get to the root of it all. And the root usually starts with your parents. And your parents be the first one to not want to take accountability. And they don't want to, acknowledge that anything that's wrong with you has anything to do with them. So they don't want you to talk to anybody. They don't want you to seek help, especially if you're going to be putting their business in the street. But, everyone has their own journey when it comes to mental health. And so even though there's that stigma of, we don't talk to therapists, we talk to God. Yes, you should talk to God. Not denying that at all. But God made the therapist. So we should probably talk to them as well.
And that is part of our culture and community. We don't typically like to go to the doctor anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I can, that was me. Mm-hmm. I went for years. I was probably over 40 before I even had a primary care physician. I just never went to the doctor. So going to the doctor for mental health, oh, that's even worse. I'm really not going for that. So, we have to learn how to receive that change that's come about, you know what I'm saying? And hopefully there's someone in your life that you can trust their opinion and that you can hear what they're trying to say to you, because, don't just deny it or brush it off or take it as you don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to help you here. And hopefully we all have someone in our life that we can value their opinion enough to hear what they're trying to say to us and, don't just brush it off as you trying to call me crazy.
Yeah. Sometimes we need help and we don't even think that there's anyone we can ask for the help. When we're going through, issues with depression or being anxious or worrying all the time, like not healthy worrying. I mean, no worrying is healthy, but, going overboard with the worry, like, the minute your child walks out the door, you're thinking, oh my God, a tornado's going to come and sweep them up, just that kind of thing. We don't think that we can ask anyone for help, but we really, you have to have somebody in your life that can, can, number one, point out that something about you has changed. But what would you say, like, for me, if you noticed that something about me had changed, I became irrational or was worrying way more than I normally do, or, whatever, you noticed something that you thought my mental health was off, what would you do to help me?
Well, for starters, I would sit down and talk to you. Mm-hmm. And I may ask a series of questions or see. Normally, I pay so much attention to you specifically because you're my spouse that I would probably be able to detect anything, even if it's the smallest thing. Mm-hmm. But I would definitely, if, I don't know, if it was affecting you not being able to sleep or just the people around you, I probably would talk to you in private and just let you vent. See, sometimes you just need somebody to be a good listener. Mm-hmm. So I would allow you, I'm not going to ask you like, see, you have to structure what you're saying to make it sound like you're concerned, but you're not accusing this person of, just being totally unreal. Mm-hmm. So I would allow you to just open up to me and say whatever it is, and you usually do if work has been bogging you down, and then you go from there to sometimes life has a way of lining foolishness up in a row. As soon as you finish with one thing and something else comes right. So and I understand that happens to everyone. Mm-hmm. But if there was a period of time where there was change in you, then definitely one of the first things I would do was come and talk to you and allow you to vent and let out whatever it is, and then we can see what needs to change. Maybe there's something I need to do to take some of that stress away from you around here. Or maybe I can suggest stop staying at work so late and, draw a boundary, a cutoff line, like by 4 o'clock, if I'm not done, whatever's after that needs to go on tomorrow. But we definitely would have to discuss it.
I think all of those are good suggestions. Definitely having a conversation with me and allowing me to vent. If the tables were turned and it were you, I would talk to you, but I would also, like, if I talk to you and you didn't feel comfortable enough to open up to me about it, I may reach out to some of your friends or family and ask, has anyone else noticed anything? Maybe I'm just overreacting to some things, but if someone else has noticed, then I would take it a little bit more serious than, if it were just me. Because sometimes people act different in front of different people. So, I would want to know if anyone else has noticed a change in you. But it definitely would all start with a conversation. And I would ask you, have you seen any changes in yourself? And what do you want to do about it, if anything? Do you want to see a doctor? Do you want to, talk to a therapist? Do you, what steps do you want to take? And, we'll just kind of take it from there. But you mentioned kind of like situational things. So there are different types of depression. Sometimes you have like postpartum depression. So postpartum depression usually comes after a woman has had a baby. I'm starting to believe and hear things about men also going through, not necessarily postpartum depression, but something postpartum. Like, we always think about what the woman is going through because she's had this hormonal change, she's given birth, her estrogen levels might be low or high or whatever, and it's another chemical imbalance. But there's something that men go through postpartum, especially if you're involved in a monogamous relationship. But, like I said, there's postpartum depression, and then there's like situational depression. I don't know if that's the correct term, but sometimes something may happen that causes you to be depressed. It's not you're in a depressed state at all times, or nothing has happened and you're just depressed. Sometimes it's just the chemical imbalance that has you in that depressive state. But sometimes it's you lost your spouse, or you lost a parent, or you lost a child, and that trauma puts you in a state of depression. And it's not as easy to put somebody off because something happened. Like, you're depressed. It's not like a case of, well, somebody had to tell you depressed. That you have changed because you're still grieving or going through whatever it is that you're going through. Me personally, I spoke about this before. It's been over a year now, but some friends that I had, we were friends since we were little, like would have been 40 years. The friendship ended. And that was one of the things that was spoken about in that room at that tea party yesterday, is friendships ending, like long-term friendships ending. It can feel just as heartbreaking as a marriage ending, or, a long-term relationship ending. And I didn't realize as many people went through it as have actually gone through it until I was going through it myself. Like, seems like before I was going through it, I never heard of anybody saying, "Oh, I'm not friends with them anymore after 30 years." Like that, it's not a common. Well, I didn't think it was a common thing, but going through it, even though I knew it had to happen. Like, I feel like the whole situation was a misunderstanding. And I know that I could have just been like, hey, you misunderstood, and explain myself and apologize, and we could have went on. But I'm at a point in my life where I have to set boundaries for myself. And I probably never had those boundaries before. And setting boundaries is a good way to preserve your mental health. I know a lot of people, they're not in a stage where they're ready to set boundaries for their life. But because I had to set those boundaries, the misunderstanding turned into some disrespect, and I couldn't allow the disrespect I couldn't just put that behind me. Now, I'm not saying I hold a grudge, because, I asked God to forgive me for my part, and I forgave them for their part. But I was still heartbroken. I was still I feel like I went through a depression, because it was almost like you said, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like, months had passed and I was still thinking about it, talking about it. But, and I prayed about it. I asked God to, give me the strength to get over it. I prayed for them, pray that they, are not struggling the way I'm struggling. But it wasn't the kind of depression. When you hear that somebody's depressed, to me, it didn't seem like that kind of depression. It just seemed like I was sad, and going through the grieving process.
Situational.
Yeah, it was based on the situation. Because now that, time has passed, I don't think about that as much. But I always use it as a reference, especially thinking about yesterday, how all those women were discussing, friendships ending. But do you have any boundaries that you have set, to preserve your mental health?
I'm sure I do. Mm-hmm. Just based off of that, I've gotten older. Mm-hmm. And, you can look back at your younger self and been like, well, I might have dealt with that back then, but if it happened today, mm-hmm. I wouldn't even waste my time with it. The same thing with arguing or, sit up debating with somebody that don't know what they're talking about. So these are all boundaries you set. Like, the mindset now is, you can sit here and debate if you want to, but I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I set boundaries there. I don't have time for that. I can see you don't know what you're talking about, and I'm not going to sit and entertain it. Just like when I was younger, you thought different. Your temper was short. Your understanding might have been bad. Mm-hmm. And there was more of a learning process. But then when you get older, you have more wisdom because you've gone through some things. And like you say, there are things that you just can't allow. Like you say, we went through a situation, you and your friends, obviously it just had to happen. Or maybe these situations had come up before and your mindset was different and you were able to put them behind you.
I didn't have boundaries.
Right, you didn't have boundaries. You were able to put them behind you and keep moving forward. And then you got to the certain point where, okay, I'm not going to put this disrespect behind me. I mean, we're going to get past it. Mm-hmm. But this is where I draw the line.
Right.
And so all that there's a level of maturity there. There's a level of wisdom once you got older. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, I heard Tyler Perry say that sometimes people are in your life for a season. You don't know, when that season's going to end. And God always brings others into your life to replace. Life just keeps on revolving. It just keeps moving forward. So
I think for me, again, maybe I'm a narcissist. I felt like one of my personal character traits was loyalty. Like, I felt like, I would say this about myself all the time. I'm loyal to a fault. I was so loyal that even though I would do things for my friends or go through things with my friends, if they didn't like do it back, like if they didn't reciprocate or weren't there for me at a time where I needed them, and I was there for them when they needed me, my loyalty kind of convinced me to just push that to the side. Like, don't focus on the negative, just keep moving forward. It's almost like we have been friends for all those years. I felt bad, like I shouldn't end this because we have all these years together. But really, that's all we had was all those years. Like, it wasn't, I'm not going to make it sound like we didn't have good times. We did. But there were things, red flags, that I ignored constantly.
All throughout.
Yeah. And that I should not have. And then when, the final thing happened and I felt like I was disrespected, I just couldn't let that go. I was told I think I'm better than people or whatever. Whatever you think of me, that's on you. But I cannot, I'm at a place in my life where peace is paramount. Like, I have to have peace in my life because my work is so much drama. So my personal life has to be peaceful. Like, I can't deal with drama in my personal life and drama at work. You guys know I'm a divorce lawyer. I listen to the craziest of things daily. And so my home life, I have to have peace. I can't deal with being disrespected. I can't deal with being cursed out in my own house. Like, I'm not going to deal with those things. And so I'm at an age where I have to have those boundaries, and I'm getting to a point where I don't want to do anything that I don't want to do. I don't want to feel obligated to do anything for you just because you did it for me, or you're going to be disappointed if I don't do it. I'm just learning to set those boundaries. I used this example yesterday at the tea party. If I had a party and I invited you and you came, and then the very next day you had a party and you invited me and I didn't come, I don't want to feel bad that I didn't come to that one party. You might have been having a great day when you came to my party, but I was tired and, exhausted from cleaning up from my own party the day you had your party, and I didn't feel like going anywhere. And I don't want friendships that I have to do that I have to show up when I don't feel like showing up. I want friendships where when we see each other, we have a good time, we laugh, we play, and you go on about your business. We don't have to talk on the phone every day. I don't need that. That's not where I'm at in my life. I have a husband who I talk on the phone with every day, and he's my best friend. And we don't even talk on the phone all day, every day. Like, I am busy. So that's not the type of friendship that I need. So I'm learning to set those boundaries. Like, I don't want anybody to think, oh, she my best friend, and whenever I need something, I can call her. Well, whenever I need something, I can't call you. So I don't want that burden of being your person if you're not my person. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to sound rude or mean or anything about it, but I have spent my life, like at least 40 years, being everybody's person. I'm tired. I'm tired of being the person you can call whenever you need something, because I have learned really recently that there's not a very lot of people that I can call on when I need something. And I don't want my loyalty characteristic to be a detriment to me, because I am a loyal person. I'm still gonna love you, but I don't want to be the one person that you can rely on. I don't want to be that friend where everybody's saying, "Oh, I know if I need something, I can call Keisha." Keisha is tired. They say check on your strong friend. I'm tired of being the strong friend. That was another thing they talked about at the tea party: being the strong black woman. Being the strong black woman can destroy your mental health. Like, why do you have to be strong all the time? Why do people treat you harshly because they know you're strong? Like, treat me fragile. Treat me like I'm gonna break if you drop me. Like, I don't want to be the strong black woman anymore. I want to live the soft life. That's the new thing. I want to live the soft life. I was saying how much drama my work is. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have a consultation at work and somebody is on the call saying, "Oh, he's a narcissist. Oh, he's gaslighting me. Oh, she's a narcissist. That's all she thinks about is herself." And I'm like, I've heard the term before, but I literally had to look it up because I'm like, am I crazy? Because to me, they're just describing regular people. Like, everybody is selfish in some way. Everybody thinks of their own happiness in some way. But I literally looked up the definition of narcissism. A narcissistic person is someone who thinks very, very highly of themselves, needs admiration, believes others are inferior, and they lack empathy for others. I've said a couple of times today that maybe I'm a narcissist, but I do have empathy for others. So maybe I have some narcissistic traits, but I don't think I'm a full-fledged narcissist.
That word is ridiculous.
Yeah, you just hear it so much lately, and I think it's just one of those buzzwords that people are just, they learn a new word and they just apply it every chance they get.
Give us some insight on gaslighting, because I don't hear it as much as you do, but I have heard it. I've heard you use it before, like maybe telling a story where somebody else said it. But I still don't know what it is. So
the first time I heard gaslighting was probably 20 years ago back when I used to watch soap operas. It was on Young and the Restless. I can't remember if it was Victor Newman or one of his sons, but Ashley Newman was the person who was being gaslit. Like, she would be in the room and the lights would go on and off, and then she would be like, Did you see the lights flicker? And then he would be like, "No, that didn't happen." He just kept, they would like set things up to happen to her and then tell her that it didn't happen. So gaslighting is like manipulation, where one person attempts to sow self-doubt in you. Like, they get you to a point where you don't believe what you have seen. You don't believe your own intuition or your own, you can't trust your own judgment. Because every time you see something, they tell you that's not what it is. And I hear that at work a lot, because like the woman will call and be like, I had proof that he was cheating. I had the text messages. I had a video, and he would tell me this is not him in the video. And I'm looking at the video with my own two eyes, and he's saying, no, that's not me. And so that's gaslighting, like making somebody think they're crazy or doubting themselves when you know that they're telling the truth.
This probably has nothing to do with nothing, but where does gas come? What's the whole?
I don't know where the term came from. I don't know. I don't know where narcissism came from.
I'm trying to draw the connection. That's like just saying, someone is creating confusion or doubt. But you use gaslighting, like, I don't know. I thought we were gonna change the name.
What would you change it to?
Podcast.
To what?
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know where the term came from, but I do see gaslighting a lot. Now, when people call me and be like, he's a narcissist, she's a narcissist, I've really only seen one person who was really, like, they told me their spouse was a narcissist, and he really was.
So what did he Like, what were his characteristics? What did he do?
So they had been, I can't remember how long they had been married, but he was cheating with several women. Like, he was on a dating site. And she had screenshots of the conversation that he had on with the women. So the women would say something to him. They would talk. His goal would be to really get them off the dating app and just talk to them on the phone. But whenever they like spent time together, did the do or whatever, he would say, "Did you like it?" Like he would ask questions like he needed the validation from the woman. And if she didn't give it to him or didn't like respond in the way he wanted, he would just be ready to cut them off. Like one lady, he was like, "Well, did you enjoy the time we spent together?" And she was like, "Yeah, it was fine." And he was like, "Well, if you don't like me, you don't have to talk to me no more." I was like, "What?" She was like, "Where did this come from?" Like, all I said was it was fine. And he was like, "You just don't seem like you trying to take this to the next level." And he sought validation from these other women, and he gaslit my client and told her that none of this happened. When she had the screenshots.
You mean he did them both?
He did both of them. He was a gaslighting narcissist. But
wow.
That's the only person that she said he was a narcissist, and he really was. A lot of times people just,
they like the word. They just want to use the word. I want to
say, "Oh, he's arrogant." Okay, well, that doesn't mean he's a narcissist. So all he thinks about is himself. Everybody thinks about themselves. Like, I don't see that as let's call the police, because he's over here doing this.
So back to our mental health. We mentioned a lot about discussing it with someone that's close to you. Mm-hmm. So what I wanted to add was, okay, we may not necessarily volunteer to go to a therapist or think, "Oh, I'm not so bad, I need to see a doctor." Well, you don't. Mm-hmm. Those, sometimes depend. That's all individual. Some people need it, some people don't. But the thing is, hopefully there's someone close in your life that you respect, mm-hmm. that you can talk to and respect their opinion. So for me, that's you. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care how bad my life gets. Like, I've had bad days at work, but I can come home and talk to you about it if I need to talk about it. And you are like my therapist. So hopefully you have someone that you
my
can vent
fee is
to, like,
$150 an hour, sir.
Okay, do you take American Express? Hopefully there's someone that you respect. Maybe it may be a parent or grandparent, somebody that's wise, mm-hmm. that's full of wisdom, that can make you feel better by hearing another side of the story. Sometimes you just need somebody that can be honest with you and tell you where you were wrong. Mm-hmm. See, you may have grown up around friends that
you had a yes friend.
Yeah, and all they do is, and if it was me, I would, instead of telling you, "Nah, man, you shouldn't have came in at 3 a.m. and you know what I'm saying?" Mm-hmm. Some people don't have, those are the only friends they have, and especially the ones that they don't want to celebrate with you, but if you call with some drama, "Oh, well, let me get off the other line so I can hear this story."
And see, that's how my friendship had gotten, which is why I was like holding on to the being loyal, but it wasn't like, if I called to say, "Hey, I did such and such." "Oh, okay. Oh, I was in the middle of this. Let me call you back." But if I call and be like, "Girl, he cheated on me," and Papa, "Girl, what? Hold on, let me get off the phone."
Put you on speaker and record it so I can play it back later.
So it was like that. But yeah, you're right. You should have somebody who you can talk to. Sometimes it might be better to talk to a stranger. You might. When I worked at CPS, and I was interviewing children who had been sexually abused. They would tell me things that they wouldn't tell their parents or their friends or anybody, because I was a stranger. Like, I just came in and would ask the right questions, open-ended questions, to give them the opportunity to say what they have been going through. And then when I would go to tell the parents, your child told me that your boyfriend has been doing this to them or whatever, they would feel offended. Like, why would she tell you and she didn't tell me? I talk to her every day. Sometimes it's easier to talk to somebody that you don't know or that doesn't know the people you're speaking of. You may know them, but they don't know. Like, if I had a problem with you, maybe I should speak to somebody who doesn't know you. I may feel more comfortable talking to them and telling them or whatever. But
so we had discussed some of the things that you can do or say when you are that person offering the help or the advice or the comfort to the person that's struggling with the mental health, the depression. So I know some of the things that was mentioned was to be a good listener. Mm-hmm. Don't be the one to rush in and do all the talking and finger pointing. Mm-hmm. Name some of the other ones that you said. I know you said that don't just say, oh, well, just pray about it or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. If someone comes to you and they're having issues with their mental health, don't tell them just pray about it. We all go through that, or my friend went through the same thing. They don't want to hear that. Actually, you should do more listening than talking. Don't tell them what they should do. Don't give them a diagnosis. A lot of times they just want to feel validated in their feelings. Like, whatever they're going through, they just want to hear it's okay to go through it. Yeah. And I'm here to listen. If you need to unburden yourself, you need to get some things off your chest, I'm here to listen. And then, you can ask them, what do you want to do? What do you want to do about it? Do you feel better just talking about it? Or do you want to talk to somebody? Do you feel like medication would be a better option for you? Do you feel like this is enough help for you right now? Or, whatever. Just be open to listening to them and not talking to them. Because there's really not much that you can say that's going to make them feel better. Like, being in a depressed state, like, let's say you're so depressed that you can't take a shower, you can't get out the bed. Coming in saying, "Ooh, it smells horrible in here. You need to get up and take a shower." Like, that's not going to make them feel better. That's probably going to make them feel even worse than they already feeling, because I feel like if they could have gotten up to take a shower, they would have done so. So it's really about listening to them, which is why therapy is so helpful, because that's what the therapist does, is listens to them.
I remember another one was, don't be so quick to accuse that person of their wrongdoing or the wrong way that they're thinking. Mm-hmm. Because like you say, that if it's a chemical imbalance, that really could happen to anybody. And, we're trying to let you navigate your own way out of this.
So you could really just kind of tell them what behavior they're exhibiting that has you concerned. Like, you could say, hey, I noticed that, last 3 family functions we had that you didn't come. Is something going on? Like, it's, don't say you over here depressed or whatever, get snap out of it.
Or you think you're too good to hang with us.
Yeah, no, they don't want to hear that. But just ask the questions and check on people. Check on your strong friend, because your strong friend, sometimes they get tired of being the strong friend. But anyway, you got anything else you want to? You good? All right. We don't have an Ask the Amoses today, but again, if you guys have questions for us or are seeking advice, send an email to getalovelikemindepodcast@gmail.com and put Ask the Amoses in the subject line. If you're not already following us on social media, Facebook and Instagram, we are Get a Love Like Mine Podcast.
Happy Halloween.
Oh, and happy Halloween. If you celebrate, But anyway, We hope you enjoyed this episode. Happy Sunday.